My mother-in-law tampered with my birth control, resulting in me getting pregnant. I'm currently 18 weeks postpartum and not really sure what to do from here. Let me just start by saying, if you know who I am, please don't say anything. I created this throwaway account to vent, cry, and get support as anonymously as possible. I'm still happy about the pregnancy, or at least I want to be. I just need support. Thanks for understanding. My husband, 22M, and I, 20F, welcomed our daughter into the world 18 weeks ago. She's a darling baby and really easy as far as newborns go, except for one issue. She wasn't a son. My in-laws were obsessed with the idea of us having a son, to the point that they denied she was a girl until the moment she was born.
Why?
Because apparently the bloodline follows the father. If you don't have a son, our family name will die out. A daughter will marry a man and carry on his bloodline. So girls don't really count in their eyes. The day they came to visit us in the hospital, my in-laws asked when we'd be trying for another baby. We kind of just laughed it off, but my mother-in-law got more insistent, straight up telling us, you need to try for a boy over the next month or two. The conversation about having another baby sort of tapered off into little comments every now and again. I had no problem ignoring them, and we'd already told them it wasn't happening, so I just let it slide. Around this time, my mother-in-law started coming over daily for a few hours to watch the baby for me, so I could sleep and occasionally clean up a bit. She'd be over unsupervised anywhere from 1 to 4 hours. Fast forward to the present day. 2 days ago, my husband poured me a mixed drink, and when I brought the cup up to my lips, I suddenly felt a paranoid and panicked feeling. I immediately put the cup down and insisted we take a pregnancy test. Sure enough, it came back positive. We waited until the next morning and took a digital test, and again, it was positive. Based on my last menstrual period, LMP, I should have been about 6 weeks along. After getting over the initial shock, we were excited but confused for several reasons. We hadn't been able to get hormonal birth control, so we had been using condoms and lube to make sure they didn't tear. We weren't sure how we'd gotten pregnant, but we were happy with the news. We decided we wouldn't tell anyone because we didn't want another baby stampede from his family. But I'm incredibly close with my sister-in-law, SIL, so I decided to tell her after swearing her to secrecy. When I told her, her eyes got wide, and she started to water. She asked if I was serious and if I was sure. I told her, I know my husband and I are young, but we make more than enough to support another baby. She burst into tears and kept apologizing over and over. Meanwhile, I sat there shocked. After calming down a bit, she told me that my mother-in-law had been poking holes in our condoms pretty much since we came home from the hospital. She claimed my mother-in-law had told her she was doing it, but my SIL thought it was just her venting because she was upset we didn't have a boy. That's when everything clicked into place. That's why the condoms didn't work even though we were careful with them. That's why my mother-in-law had always shooed me off to sleep while she was around. That's also why she'd been snooping through my house, looking for our condoms. I remember complaining to her about how my OB went on maternity leave and I couldn't find another doctor that took my insurance at the time. I'm so angry. I don't know what to do. I want to go right over to her house and confront her. I'm also illogically angry at my SIL for not telling me sooner. How could she think this was a joke when my mother-in-law was so specific about what she was going to do? Why didn't she warn me? I would have put the condoms in my room if I had known. I'm living with my mother-in-law, and I'm pleased with this pregnancy, but it wasn't my choice. It wasn't even an accident. It was her meddling because she didn't get the golden grandson she wanted. I don't even know how to handle this. I want to scorch the earth, but I also don't want his family to know I'm pregnant yet, and I'm not even 12 weeks along, so the risk of miscarriage is still uncomfortably high. The only bright side is that this situation has snapped my husband out of his mother's influence so violently, he probably has whiplash. Personally, my pregnancy has soured a bit, so I'm trying really hard to hold on to any happiness I have left about it. If you've had Irish twins or a similar situation, I'd love some positive feedback about what I should do from here. ETA update. First, let me clarify. I am 20 years old, not 18. I'm 18 weeks postpartum, not 12. 12 weeks is when I would have conceived, given that I'm 6 weeks along based on LMP. Second, I don't care if you think this is fake. I honestly wish it were. If you don't have advice to give, I kindly ask that you take your judgment elsewhere. Now that that's out of the way, here's the update. I want to thank you all for your support and suggestions. Having a plan makes me feel much less panicked and overwhelmed. Sadly, what my mother-in-law did isn't a crime here, so there won't be any jail time or charges pressed. For now, the game plan is no contact and see, with my mother-in-law for me, my husband, or our growing baby. Once the truth is out, I want all the proof in the world that she did this. I've ordered a hidden camera and am going to buy new latex-free condoms, claiming that I'm suddenly allergic to latex. Hopefully, she'll poke holes again, and I'll have video proof this time. Even if I can't use it to press charges, I want all the proof I have that she's not safe to be around, so she can't sue for grandparent visitation rights if this baby is a boy. I've also decided to change our family last name to literally anything else because I'm petty, and since she wants to act like this over a name, then nobody gets it. As for my husband, he's willing and ready to do whatever I decide. He's currently asleep, so we'll discuss everything at breakfast. Thanks again to everyone for the spot-on comments. Completely sick. The things she has done to you, she may do again. She may do it to someone else. This is not a person you can ever trust again. You will always hear about how she wasn't good enough because she was a girl, so your MIL did this to you, and now you have to deal with the consequences. Isn't that so wonderful? Your daughter is going to need to be protected from internalizing that she is inadequate or that reproductive coercion is an okay thing to do. If I were you, I would talk to your local police department or a lawyer to discuss legal options if a couple agreed to use condoms as birth control and one person decided to poke holes in the condoms without telling the other, changing the terms of the agreement without informing their partner. That would probably be considered some form of sexual assault or fraud, at the very least. It should be no different for your MIL. If you have any condoms left in your house, inspect them for damage and save them as evidence. I would also never let her around my kids again. She is taking manipulation to get what she wants to an extreme, and that's not someone I would want influencing my kids. So either you call the police and do everything you can to destroy this nutjob's credibility and peace of mind, or tell everyone on Facebook, her church, wherever she shops. Put up her picture with a warning that this crazy woman tampers with condoms. Or I'll just wait for the update where she plants drugs or something to get you deemed an unfit parent to get you out of the way for her kid. Make no mistake, that is how she thinks. This might sound harsh, but honestly, if you don't both call the police and never let her near your family again, I would have to say you're not fit to parent. Do you want a power-hungry lunatic controlling your kids? Because she will never accept anything less than the level of control she wants. If you let her in, she will not give up. She doesn't even think of you as a human being. You are cattle to her. Not much to say that hasn't already been said, so I'm just going to repeat many comments. Good luck with both kids. Speak with your husband about the options with the in-laws. My family had issues with in-laws too. My mom's parents talked and joked about beating their religion into us kids, and my dad's sister tried to kill her own kids. My family did supervised visits in public places like parks, restaurants, and church with all the in-laws until we were over 18 or relatives proved to be trustworthy. So you have that choice if your husband wants to stay in contact with his family. If not, change the locks, get a door camera, intercept all presents. If it's a boy, raise him with the idea that he can take his wife's last name, or your daughter can keep hers. I asked him if she had confessed any feelings or something. He said no, but it's the way she is with him. He gave examples like how she's always around her house. Eevee and I run together 3 times a week, as I live closer to her work. She comes to ours to change instead of going home, how she'll make his favorite dessert when we celebrate Christmas at theirs, his birthday is Christmas Eve, how she does little thoughtful things like dropping off baked goods for us, or how she takes an interest in things he is interested in. The 3 of them support the same football team. To me, none of this shows Eevee has romantic feelings for him. She's just being a good friend. I told him this, but he is insistent on not inviting Eevee to the wedding. I know that if Eevee isn't invited, Charlie won't attend, and it will snowball further since the family is really close. But it will look like I'm the one causing this. I reached out to Eevee after the conversation with Will, and I asked her to be honest with me if she had any sort of romantic feelings for Will. At first, Eevee laughed at the idea of having any feelings for Will. She then admitted that until I met Will, he had made her uncomfortable, but it had lessened since we got together 2 years ago. She explained that Will would make comments about how they were more suited than her and Charlie. He used to send her drunk messages about how they belonged together. She told me that Charlie knew about the messages, and they had pulled themselves away from Will during that period, but only allowed him back in when I started dating him. Ask her if he had sent her anything like that since we'd been together. Eevee went quiet on the phone before saying that he had sent her a message at the weekend when Will, Charlie, and some of their friends had gone out drinking. She had canceled on running with me this week, but hadn't given me a reason. It turns out she was avoiding Will. Charlie also hasn't been talking to his brother since the night out because of the message. The message was very explicit. Will told her that he wished he were the father of her child. She's pregnant with their 4th child, and not Charlie, and that he'd be a better dad than Charlie could ever be. I'm not sure what to do. I love Will, and he is convinced that Eevee has feelings for him when she's made it clear that she does not. I thought Will had moved on, but he's now sending Eevee messages again. Is there anything I can do, or is the relationship just doomed? TLDR. Fiancé doesn't want his sister to be invited to the wedding, saying it's because she has feelings for him. Turns out, he has feelings for her and has started sending her messages again, saying that he loves her and they belong together. Edit. Not that it makes anything better, but Will was 15 when they had the date. Eevee is 6 months younger than her husband. She's 34 next month. I've told Will that we need to talk when he comes back from taking his mom to an appointment this morning. It's nothing serious, just taking her to get new glasses, but she needs the help as she's got mobility issues. I think he knows I want to talk about Eevee, as he asked if it was about Eevee in the wedding. I said yes, and he sighed before telling me we would discuss it when he comes back. I'm going to put together a weekend bag, so I can leave quickly if needed. I've texted Eevee and Charlie to tell them I'm going to talk to Will about his behavior because it needs to change, and he needs to realize that nothing will ever happen with Eevee. Charlie responded, wishing me luck, and has said their house is open to me if I need it. He also apologized for me having to go through this, as they shouldn't have stuck their heads in the sand about this hoping it would go away. I know I should have brought this up after she told me, but I'm very non-confrontational and will try to avoid an argument if I can. Update. Will and I had a talk when he came back. I told him that I knew about the text he had sent Eevee at the weekend. He denied it straight away, telling me she was a fantasist, but quickly changed his tune once I started reading him the text. He then started to apologize and claimed it was just a moment of weakness after Charlie had been showing the group pictures from their family holiday last month. One of them had made a comment about Eevee being out of Charlie's league, which reminded Will that he had lost his chance with Eevee all those years ago. He then sent her the text. I asked him how he would feel if it had been Charlie harassing his partner, and he just lowered his head and said he would be upset, but that Charlie didn't deserve Eevee. I told him that Eevee wasn't an object to be given to whoever was deemed worthy of her, and that she chose Charlie, and that should have been enough for him. The fact that there is someone out there who loves Charlie for who he is and makes his brother happy should be enough. Will told me that he was jealous of Charlie, as he has everything he wanted, and it wasn't fair because he's the eldest. Charlie did better than Will in school, he was better at sports, and Charlie is more successful because he was able to do what he wanted, while Will feels he had to do what his parents expected of him, whereas Charlie could go to uni for whatever he wanted. Seeing Eevee with Charlie is a reminder that Charlie has everything Will wants. I asked Will if Eevee were single and interested in him, would he leave me? Will refused to answer the question, but it was all I needed to hear. I told Will that I was going to stay elsewhere for a couple of days while I figure out where I'll go, because we are over. I don't want to stay living with someone who doesn't care about me. I packed. Will asked me if he could have the ring back, as it is a family heirloom. It belonged to his grandmother and was intended for whoever got married first. But when Charlie asked for it, Will apparently threw a massive tantrum over it, saying that it should be his, as he is the eldest. So, their mom said Charlie couldn't have it. I told him no, it was going to the person it was meant for, Eevee. I'm now at Charlie and Eevee's for a couple of days while I figure out where I'll stay, or if I'll move closer to my family. I work for myself, so that makes things easier. Charlie and Eevee have decided to go low contact, LC with Will. They'd go no contact, NC, but it would cause drama with the family and neither of them wants that, especially Eevee. Will called Charlie, asking if I was with them, but Charlie told Will that he had no idea where I was. Charlie then proceeded to tell Will that they were going LC with him because of the way Will has been toward Eevee, and that he is now doing what he should have done years ago, protecting Eevee. Eevee has apologized several times, as she feels she's the reason my relationship has ended. But I've reassured her that the only person at fault here is Will, and I do not blame her for anything. If anything, she is a victim in all of this too. I've given her the ring, but she has said I should return it to MIL, mother-in-law, as she doesn't want it. I wish I had seen Will's behavior before it got this far, but I was blinded by love. Looking back, I can see there were red flags that I just decided to ignore.